Recording is on.
Hello and welcome to the Monday, May 31st, 2021 DXbiz Dev Call. On the agenda today, we have, we're going to start with some new DXDAO member introductions. I don't know if there are any, but there might be a few. I think Sky will take us through basically a few DXbiz squad opportunities. We will have discussion and input, basically feedback on some of these opportunities. We'll then have, I think, either Shai or Oren from Hats are in the call, and they will do a quick presentation and demo of the Hats security mechanism. We're going to talk about ECC, the event itself, and kind of like gathering applications for the presentations and workshops. And if there are any like product-specific ideas for Omen and Swapper growth, which we will discuss. And all of this is in the agenda that I pasted in the chat, and I'll paste it here again. So that's that. And do we have anyone new, Melanie? Or
I don't think anybody new will be joining us this week. Hopefully next week we'll have a few new member introductions. We've had a few people introduce themselves in our DXO channel, so hopefully in the next coming weeks, but nobody today, I don't think.
All right. So yeah, I guess we can get started with the DXbiz opportunities, and the first item is like the process for people in projects to bring in new ideas. Do you want to take it away, Sky?
Sure. Yeah. So I think maybe Nathan might have something to say on it, but we're just like better defining and communicating a process, and eventually I think it will be in maybe a DXbiz docs area of our docs page, but just like a more clear process for not necessarily someone like joining and starting contributing to DXDAO, but like where to bring new ideas and how to like introduce those ideas to like a global decentralized collective. Because in general, most people would probably not really have a good idea of how to introduce something like that. So we want to have it kind of written and clear and have a place that people can refer to. And so we've been talking about that as a process, and we'll probably end up publishing it and having it somewhere that that is easy to access. So as part of the farming campaign, obviously we are thinking about including work token as an incentivized pool, which will be a unique kind of showcase experiment for a new token. DXDAO related to that, did an investment grant in Opolis and is due to receive some work tokens immediately, and then like in the future as well, potentially. And there's like this is like the technical things of how DAOs can work with other DAOs. And so there is just in general there's a platform that Opolis had created, which is running mainly on XDAI, but they have an interface, a user interface where associate members and members of Opolis, the Commons, which is like the cooperative, they can take their work tokens that they've been given and earn and things, and they can stake those and use those for governance and things like that. And that's like to get into the technicalities, most of those wallets are created as like magic wallets, which is what Fortmatic is now called, right? So like when you create your account, you get a blockchain wallet, and you have the ability to like turn over the control of those tokens to a self-hosted address or a self-hosted wallet, which is like someone's MetaMask. And then you can interact with the governance system using your own wallet instead of like the account created wallet. And so there's a little bit of like a technical question on can DXDAO, so in our case XDXDAO on XDAI base, I guess using the multi-call, could that be the wallet that holds the actual work tokens and still interact with the staking contracts and things on their governance platform? And I think because we have the multi-call, like it should be like the path forward. I believe their devs are looking into it a little bit. I initially there's already been a scenario where like a multi-chain world has caused some problems. So there's a number of people that did do investment into Opolis and received their work tokens, which are XDAI work tokens, and they actually withdrew them to multi-sigs, and they withdrew them to multi-sigs on mainnet, and that doesn't work. And so it's really good that DXDAO has an XDAI DAO, but people have already lost their tokens by sending them to mainnet multi-sigs. And when I explained that, like, we don't use multi-sigs, we are a DAO. It's this whole like understanding that people have to get used to, is like in certain cases DAOs want to do things as DAOs and not as multi-sigs and not as individual wallets. So there's this like weird thing that everyone's trying to figure out right now, how DAOs and multi-sigs can do governance in a multi-chain world. So it's like an interesting topic, but we'll keep people updated on how that goes. And that would potentially be like the way to, like, if once we get work token, we could, if we decided to, use some of the work tokens in, put it as capital into a swapper pool. If the DAO decided to as well, I guess.
I guess you could deploy the same address as a multisig on different networks. I'm not sure. I guess you could also do this as a DAO, like a DAO stack DAO, but I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, so there are the same addresses on multi-sigs on different wallets, but I think it's very hard to force that. And so this is actually important. So you know how like Gnosis announced that they're going to go like multi-sigs on all chains. Like it's going to be a multi-chain Gnosis safe world where even Polygon and Solana, and like eventually they're going to support lots of different chains because it's a proven useful tool. If they're all different addresses, like if you create all different safes on all different chains and they're all different addresses, that like not only is bad, it's going to lead to lots of lost money, I think. And I think it's very hard to force the same wallet address on multiple chains all at once. Well, the answer would be I deploy my Gnosis safe and it gives me the same wallet address on all 10 chains that Gnosis safe supports. But that doesn't exist today, and I'm not sure if it's possible. So anyway, jumping to the next topic, there's so Federico and a small team are thinking a lot about and working on what we're calling conditional KPI token platform right now, and that's like a simpler version of a way to create ERC20 conditional tokens, which could be then used in conditional farming, which is a really cool idea that DXDAO is excited about. And one of the opportunities we're looking at is in discussions with Chainlink, is for Chainlink to be the oracle on those conditions of those conditional tokens that are created. And we could just have DXDAO as like an oracle, but having parties like Chainlink feed in data as a third party, as a decentralized third party, is a pretty interesting way to settle those conditional tokens, and would be a great partnership. So we have like outlined some of like the potential needs and like parameters of what types of conditions would need to be solved in order to like achieve some of the cases that we've thought about. And we will be discussing those with Chainlink to see if they can if they have the ability to feed those specific types of information into this platform. And so that could be a good spark. Like that could spark a bigger, closer relationship with Chainlink. And Chainlink does support multiple chains, so they're obviously on mainnet, but they also do stuff on XDAI and have a big plan to work with and be deployed on Arbitrum as well. So that we're also thinking about like future connections, like integrations with them, like eventually when Arbitrum is live. So it would be cool to have obviously the two communities have a closer relationship, which would lead to like, good, probably bigger awareness and things.
Yeah, so we have a call with, there was already a call with some of their like biz dev accounts team, right? And they are, of course, they're open to like working together on different things. But there's a question of, like the type of data. And so I just provided a link to their nodes. I think most of their data now is like price related or like, sports outcome related or whatever. But if we're talking about incentivizing things in crypto, I think total value locked or value locked is something that's interesting. So that's, I think, the main thing we're going to be asking them about when we meet with their integrations team in about a week.
Yeah, like we're actually exploring a couple different use cases. One would be like related to total value locked in swapper pools, depending on the chain, which would be a key statistic for like relevant to DXDAO. But then also there's other parties we're working with, like say a lending platform that wants to grow their total value locked. And so, being able to provide like a conditional KPI token ability through our creation for other projects to use that conditional token, we're thinking about making sure that type of condition could be settled as well. And so the idea is that this could then be used by many different projects out there for like all of their own use cases. Yeah.
So in that scenario, like for conditional tokens, is this all happening like within Swapper, or like how do we think about like getting people to use conditional tokens? Is that like a new, interface, a new brand or anything? I think this is like a really potentially good opportunity for a lot of different projects. And I'm just kind of wondering where we're seeing like the biz dev efforts and how they're like associated with Swapper versus something kind of outside of Swapper.
Yeah. So Federico's not here right now. He's the one obviously mainly looking into like the building of it. But at this point, it really does seem like it's its own simple product. Now, where you place that, like you could theoretically place it into Omen somewhere or place it into Swapper somewhere, but it really is its own, it's leveraging like things related to like obviously Omen and conditional tokens, but the idea is not to have it like embedded in, like you can go find your Omen market about that conditional token. So it's at this point plans to be its own platform, and it could have its own brand, like you said, Chris. But we would use it and like, so it's the creation of conditional tokens, but then what the really interesting, like conditional tokens already exist and farming already exists, but DXDAO doing conditional token farming, basically combining two things that I'm not aware of anyone else that has done this, where you are actually giving out these conditional tokens through the new farming mechanism on Swapper in order to incentivize the pools of Swapper. That combination is actually the really interesting idea in my mind. And so that like is obviously highly related to Swapper, but we as a project would create those tokens in a separate place and then use those tokens how we see fit. And that's what other projects, I believe, would be able to do as well. They would come to this platform, and that's where they can simply create the condition, get the ERC20 token, and then either give them out through farming or give them out through airdrops, which is what some projects want to do. They just want to airdrop, and that's kind of what UMA did with KPI tokens, just like airdrop them to like relevant wallets that are connected to their community, and then like give that incentive to that community. So lots of flexibility there.
Yeah, just to jump in there, because I think what UM is doing is really cool with KPI tokens. But I think as we've learned, a couple of years ago, airdrops were all the rage because everyone thought this was cool. But really, it was farming that really made that something, because the distribution element of farming is like matching up who you're trying to get your token, whether it's an actual token or a KPI token, in the hands of someone. Whereas for UMA, they're just doing like a list of addresses, but having like an active platform where you could like reward people with conditional tokens for providing liquidity, I think is a big advance in terms of like trying to address the distribution problem of these conditional tokens, which like I think is in the end like the big problem that all of the bootstrapping any network is how can you distribute to the right addresses.
Yeah, so you can kind of like think of this as two different things. Like one is creating this question that conditionally distributes the reward capital. And then the other thing is like how is it distributed, right? So like Sky said, like you can airdrop, you can use farming. I think one thing worth noting is the swapper farming, which is about to go live. Like we think of it as using your LP tokens from swapper. That's like the main use case, but there's actually like no limit to like what token is being used as the staking token. So so if you think about incentivizing TVL, it might be in DEXs like Swapper, or it could be in other types of platforms like lending platforms, etc. Right? And so I mean, in theory, like the Swapper farming system could be used to actually like farm other things besides LP tokens.
Yeah, and to me, it also makes sense to have this in a platform like Mesa. Similar product is DXSale that has launched recently, and they have a contract for minting new tokens, and then they have a separate contract allowing people to stake it. So we could have this across our products, and the initial point could either be a feature within all of the products, or it could be initiated in one of them and then incorporated in the others separately. But maybe a good starting point could also be considered Mesa, although the current state of things kind of like makes it impossible, but maybe for the future.
Yeah, to Chris' question, I think it will start as an infrastructure module, like a new building block on top of DeFi. But once we actually see people using it on Swapper or like potentially Omen and Mesa, this should be branched out into like a new brand, because we actually should capture the innovation.
Yeah, and I think this could also be used for, like, we should first start this with like the DXDAO products, but later on this could be a product of its own, of like targeted airdrops, or like KPI options have been talked about as well, for projects who want sort of like drip drops. Oh, that's actually good. So yeah. So this is kind of cool. Like we're basically starting with DXDAO products, and then this could be used basically to sell it sort of to other projects.
Yeah. So the goal is the immediate goal is to Federico's working on the platform, get the platform live, figure out the who will be the oracle, if it will be DXDAO initially, or it could potentially be Chainlink or another party, settle the condition, and then actually launch and do a live use case, probably for one of our own products like Swapper, and learn from that and test it out, and then like expand from there. Cool.
Very cool.
So next, a few more topics. Next topic that we talked about on the huddle was we are like, okay, so we're revisiting as part of Omen. Like Omen's going to launch with a rewards program and Omen Guild and Omen Token, but in tandem with that, there were like already proposals and discussions into the Gnosis DAO world from Kleros and other parties about like GNO holders or Gnosis giving GNO rewards to support conditional token framework. The proposal that was proposed didn't pass, but we are revisiting that idea with like to tie in with like the launch of Omen and Guild and its rewards programs ability. And so there's a few different, like there's a bunch of different stakeholders from Kleros to Gnosis team to Gnosis DAO to GNO holders to DXDAO. So we're trying to figure out whether or not something could be put on the table that like most parties agree with. There's lots of different opinions and things, but like there's some drafts shared around with different parties involved. And I think one, like, you know, to get feedback and improvements, but at the end of the day, this could be a proposal that like DXDAO makes to GNO holders as a whole. And it's almost a way to pull in, obviously GNO holders should be quite interested in prediction markets and things like conditional token framework. And so it's basically going to be asking for GNO holders to support the growth and expansion of conditional token framework, which is what Omen uses and a couple other projects use as well. But, you know, as there's other prediction market platforms out there that are, you know, doing their own thing, it makes, instead of like shying away from trying to expand the usage of conditional token framework, the ask would be more for like leaning into it and seeing if these prediction markets can really work in our space, and then expand to other spaces outside of the crypto space. So yeah, I don't know if anyone had any thoughts about like the proposal that had happened was, you could see the discussion on the Gnosis DAO forum. But yeah, so we're revisiting a new version of that basically.
Yeah, I guess we can add the new version to the meet to like the call notes section as well.
Yeah. Next is DX Ventures, which launched the idea a while ago, finally did its first grant investment into Opolis. There's been some side discussions on like how DXDAO in general could better absorb, bring in, support, help evolve like different projects in the space that are like could benefit from being part of a bigger community and the infrastructure and the governance and things that DXDAO has. And so there's discussion on like, could DX Ventures become more than just like this investment arm that's just investing in like specific one-off projects that are helping build things that DXDAO needs, but could it become more of a like an umbrella of DXDAO that welcomes in new projects to like build out those projects under that umbrella, so almost like an incubator, and then like give them seed funding and then also give them investment like as a next stage. And so it's kind of like the idea is like more of an expansion of DX Ventures, and maybe DX Ventures would be good if we had a few more projects that we've only had one investment so far. It would be good to get a few more under our belt to like learn from those. but it's a pretty unique, and it's a thing that people don't think is going to go away. It's only going to get bigger and bigger. Is like DAOs in the space using their treasuries to build and support projects that are highly relevant to those DAOs. And so I think a lot of DAOs are trying to figure this out, and how do DAOs and the pools of funds that DAOs have fit in with what traditional VCs and other investment companies do. And so it's a pretty open question. There are lots of different ideas. I think related to that, like at ECC, there is a VC track, and the founders of ECC were very excited to have DXDAO as a quote unquote VC, or like the DX Ventures arm, like show up and participate in the VC track as a new world version of a VC, and to see how that goes. And you could see a project that, capital is easy these days, but a project that that's building something interesting, if they can join and get funding from a DAO, and they get with that, like the entire community of that DAO, they get everyone that's holding the token or a stakeholder in that ecosystem supporting that new project, talking about that new project, spreading the new project, using it. You could see that eventually being way more powerful than just like some corporate VC backing you. So it's not like a new topic, but yeah, Chris.
Yeah, man, it is like such a big topic, and I think we got to kind of thinking the long term of like what is the, what's the positioning there. And I think we want to have like two thoughts here. One, how can DXDAO be a great place for entrepreneurs to grow and build their business, right? I mean, you're talking about, this is what VCs kind of approach now, is not just what can I give in capital, but like what can I do to make it easier in terms of audits, in terms of marketing, in terms of all the other things. Like how can we enable entrepreneurs and make it an attractive place to want to come? And I think two is, how do we give projects stakeholders, or expand the stakeholders that are interested in their project? And obviously DXDAO would be one of those stakeholders ourselves, but like how can we encourage like other stakeholders within the ecosystem, or like give those projects access to them? But yeah, I think long term, like we really should be, shifting from the pure model of like, okay, well, DXDAO full-time contributors are going to like have product ideas, and then we're going to build them out from there, versus like attracting really cool ideas and then bringing them into our orbit. But we need to make it an attractive orbit for them to come into.
Totally. And so with that, if like, it seems it's apparent that as DX Ventures operates currently, and then with this expansion, it probably makes a lot of sense to, find a person or even a couple people that could like define and develop and lead this expansion of DX Ventures. And so that's one of the positions that we are recruiting for, I think. And there's a draft of a write-up for that opportunity, and hopefully over the next couple months of different conferences and things, there might be people that would be interested in leading that.
What about like I think one of the things we talked about is sort of DXDAO investing in products that we need, right? So like, what about having a board of all the things? I think we talked about many things about, I don't know, treasury management, decentralized treasury management, decentralized Notion, decentralized all these things, and we could probably like bounty these up and say, we will give, even if it's like 5-10K to someone who gives us a prototype for this. And I don't know, maybe it could be like a bounty board for, things that DXDAO wants to invest in. And it's the tools that will help us succeed.
Yeah. we can start making that list. Yeah, DXDAO hasn't been very good at bounties, but I think in this world, I think bounties, and obviously you can see with what Gitcoin's doing, but I think bounties are a great way to pull people in and make it very clear what are the needs of a certain project, and so more bounties.
I feel like bounties. The term bounties might be overused, but I would call it like, I don't know, the DXDAO wish list, DX Ventures wish list.
Well, we can also treat it. We can treat it like a grant, and then the other cool thing, as Chris was kind of touching on, I think it's cool to. We have a unique positioning with our governance and kind of providing some decentralized protocols that could be really helpful for like a new product that fits our kind of universe of needs. So it could be, kind of like a staged relationship where it's a good idea. We give an initial grant, even we can call it, or we can call it a bounty, whatever you prefer. And then from there, if it progresses, we, provide more and more kind of institutional help to like develop the project. And from that point, there could be some sort of like mutual ownership or partial ownership for DXDAO. I think that would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So keep an eye out for people that would be really good at leading that type of initiative in general.
Yeah.
And it's pretty free and open. So
exactly, like someone who has like a good, some sort of economics VC background, but of course, like looking to do something more innovative and not just fit the typical structures and confines of a VC. I think that's very attractive for like DeFi enthusiasts and like technologists. So if we can find someone who has some of that institutional experience, but like is excited about kind of creating their own version of that in our community, that would be really exciting. So some experience, but not necessarily like no one's going to have the perfect experience to fit our needs. So someone who's just open and has some understanding would be fantastic.
Yeah. Nylon, should we move? Do we have the hats team here? Should we move to that? We're running low on time, probably.
Yeah, I think so. I think they're here. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yes.
Yeah, excited to be here. Thank you for having me. Maybe I'll just, I don't know if I need a little introduction on what HATS is doing.
Yeah, sure. Like, I think treat it as if no one knows. I think there was an initial proposal on the forums that were pasted here, but I guess not sure if everyone read it. So.
Yeah, so I will just do it quick. So in one sentence, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, so HATS is a decentralized incentive program for white hat hackers. And me and Oren were veteran in the ecosystem, in Ethereum ecosystem. My latest thing was I was part of the Prismatic Labs team. I think E2 client. Oren is a veteran developer in security, wrote DAO stack contract, and he also wrote did the audit for many projects. And I saw in DeFi Summer the incentive mechanism works to attract many people to stake their tokens, and I thought that it's a good idea to use those incentives to incentivize the security of the ecosystem. So we started working on HATS. The bug bounties are small and not very attractive usually. And I'm going fast through this because I think just numbers a little bit. So I'm not counting the BSC hacks recently, but these are the numbers of how many dollars went lost by exploits and hacks. But the damage is much greater. 400 million got extracted, but sometimes, as the example in cover protocol, it was worth $500 million when it was exploited, and the hacker dumped all the tokens on Uniswap and extracted only $4.5 million. So there is great incentive for project to collaborate with us. The total value locked at the project goes down by 39%. After a hack, the token value goes down. Currently, the incentive of a white hat hacker is social incentive, and we want to take it serious. Although we are developing a financial incentive, we want to enhance the social incentive, and we are doing it by using NFT art pieces that will be like badges of honor. So you can stay anonymous and have those and get financial reward, and also get NFT art piece that is specified for the certain hack you helped solve. So it can be kind of resume. So you can stay anonymous and still be able to show your experience and your expertise as exploit finder or helper. And our long-term mission is to turn black hat hackers into white hat hackers. It's a long process that it also cultural and behavioral. So like at first we will attract maybe different crowd, but in the long term, we believe that the security of the ecosystem will worth much more than exploiting the ecosystem, both financially and socially. There are many parties that can enjoy the system. I will mention a few. The projects have incentives to put part of their treasury in our vaults. This is mainly to save the reputation of the project. Being hacked is not something good for the reputation. About the hackers, it's much easier to find an exploit or issue in Solidity code than to really use the exploit and extract the funds and run away with it without leaving tracks. So it makes it easier for people to help resolve issues than really hack them and exploit them. For token holders, they can risk small portion of their holding in this skin in the game vault. And HATS project will get most of its value by making the ecosystem safer in the long term. So when Ethereum will be safer and HATS will become the go-to place to look for security vulnerability reports and protect projects. So this will bring them most of the value. There is another party here, which is insurers, that we found them through walking through this deck. So insurers have great incentive to help people who disclose vulnerabilities, because it's much easier to pay them than to pay the coverage. A bit about how it works. So mostly it's like a regular yield farming farm, but with one-sided token. So you can deposit DXDAO token, and you get as a reward HEADS tokens, the emission rate that is being set. The white hat hacker can look through the projects and find in certain smart contract vulnerability. It then encrypt the message, the description, and hash it, and send the hash on chain to have like timestamp on when he for later if there is a dispute, so to do a dispute resolution. So he then communicate with the committee. Every pool have its own committee. So for example, DXDAO will have its own committee that will handle the disclosures. And then you have encrypted communication with the committee. The committee can look into the issue and fix the issue. And then it approved the claim with the severity. So every severity release different portion of the staked tokens here in the pool. And there is a split function. Part of the funds go to the hacker or the auditor. Part of the funds is being exchanged to heads and rewarded to the hacker investing contract. So he become invested in heads as well. Part of the tokens is being swapped to heads and sent to the governance. And there is a split there. There is also like part of it that goes to the committee for looking through the reports. This is there is a governance, so all these settings of how many percentage, all the split function and those things are being set by the governance. The governance also, after the committee approve, so the governance have to reapprove in order for the funds to go through the split. This is to put like stops in case of a committee that want to do a rug pull for the pool token. So there are two levels. One is like the project committee, and there is another governance vote to approve the approval. Yeah, this is about it. Maybe our state right now, we are in audit, like our first audit report just came through, no major issues, and everything was fixed. Already we have 2 additional audits that are going to get out. We just finalizing a funding round and doing a soft launch with few projects, and XM will be one of them, and we hope also DXDAO. And yeah, we have few more things on our strategy. This is an example of the split function. So the hacker can get up to 85% of the vault value in the original token. And exchange to heads. I mentioned all this. The hacker can also get exposure through a leaderboard, so he can stay anonymous or have like a Twitter account and still have reputation on the exploits he helped fix, and can be communicated through the communication channel he defines in this leaderboard. The emission rate is like, as you can see, it's curved because we have like a halving function in the emission for liquidity farming, mining. So every month there is little less tokens being sent to token depositors. If you have any questions, next I want also to show you like the flow through the interface itself, but maybe first if you have any questions.
Yeah,
Okay.
Thanks for that. I had just one question. So the committee, like DXDAO would create its own committee who then decides which contracts and which products and contracts like are in the pool of possible contracts that could be looked at, right? And
Yeah.
then if there's a vulnerability or something, it's also the committee that like then decides that it's actually like important or like it's legit basically, and then once the committee says, oh thanks, that was a vulnerability, like so it seems like in general every project's going to have this committee that's a centralized group of smaller people. How do you prevent that committee from not doing what insurance companies do? Like once the claim goes in, then they try everything possible to not pay out, basically.
Yeah, so I think our space is a little bit different, like because the incentive is to, like, as I see it, like, is to be generous and give out big rewards, because anyway, the tokens that are locked in the contract are the default reward. Yeah. Like if there is a hack or an exploit in your project, it's better that you will have good reputation for giving big rewards. Otherwise, the main funds will go out. That's like the threat that every project in our space have by default. Yeah. So being generous in our line of work is, first of all, it's a thing, and second, we are collaborating with Kleros to create a dispute resolution mechanism, and in V2 it will also be part of the mechanism itself. So at the beginning there will be like a certain number of tokens that will be locked for the dispute resolution, but at V2, like Kleros can have like the possibility to influence the pool tokens through judging mechanism. So this is like a longer term, and will have to be tested and things like this. But I think that the incentives are aligned already, not like an insurance company, because our threat is real. Like having a smart contract on chain, it's better that everybody will know that you give big rewards for exposing vulnerabilities than to know that you are cheap and you don't give rewards. So it's different kind. We are going to have expert committee as well, and this is like, there are things that we keep for the launch itself, but for the project themselves, yeah, they will have to have the reputation, and I think it's aligned.
Yeah, so this is essentially like, I want to say like a supercharged bounty. It's kind of like the goal is to create bounties on your contracts, and instead of someone hacking your contract and getting a certain amount of funds, they will choose to get less funds, but do it in a responsible way and disclose it. And then with like additional incentives of reputation, NFT, and let's say compared to like regular bounties, like today you could probably get like 100K if you disclose a vulnerability that you could have hacked, I don't know, $50 million. So here it will actually scale with the project itself, because if the value of DXD goes up, so will the bounty, because the bounty is made out of DXD tokens. So yeah.
But is it like, it's the whole point is like decentralize this entire like framework, right? Because projects could just have really big bug bounties, like, and publish those themselves. But like the benefit of having this in this like ecosystem and is not necessarily the decentralization, but it's like, so it's easier for people to be aware of what the opportunities are and things.
Yeah, it's also easier to be aware of, and also like we can attract more people to deposit to be part of the bounty. It's not only the project themselves, it can be like through certain incentives, like we are collaborating with the famous artist in the NFT, or to give bounties for small token holders that locks their tokens in the vault. So if you like DXDAO and you want to be part of the guardians of DXDAO, so you can deposit some tokens that you have and get rewards in the form of heads token, and also like have like recognition of you being part of the people who defend DXDAO. Maybe I can shortly like show you how it looks. Would you be interested?
Yeah, I think we have a couple more minutes, but yeah, let's do it quickly.
Yeah, I'll just do it partially just to have a taste. Yeah, so first of all, like this is like the committee setup. So every committee sets the Twitter accounts of the members of the multi-sig, and it choose the contract that are covered by any severity. It chooses like the severities, how much % of each vault will be sent. And in the interface itself, so in this example, DXDAO, it's on Rinkeby right now. So you can open it, you can see like there are like critical and medium vulnerabilities, the size of the reward from the pool, the size of the pool, and the NFT that will be rewarded for disclosing a vulnerability here. You can deposit your DXD token. Let's say that I want to deposit 2. Yeah, I think this flow is really something that everybody mostly know. So this is deposit and claim, like I had already like tokens. So I can deposit and also like claimed part of the, so this is like a regular flow on a DeFi. Here the submit vulnerability, so I can choose DXDAO. I write my Telegram handle. And I write and I download the document to my local storage. This is like I can encrypt it and hash it and have a proof that this is what I have submitted later for the dispute. So I have it like when I do the submit, I send the hash of this file on chain to have a future claim that I have submitted it. So if DXDAO resolve the issue and don't give me price, so I can show it to everyone that DXDAO didn't pay. Yeah, and then it takes some time to send because it takes some time for it to get on the, yeah, so this is like, it will take few more seconds to get it on the, so if I'm part of the vulnerability was submitted, and then I should get, if I'm part of the committee, so I get it, this is Ether 101, DXDAO. So this is like quickly.
I lost the screen share.
Looks really cool though.
Yeah, so I've been kind of involved in the project, and then there are a couple of interesting things here. Like one is that it's sort of like one-sided liquidity farming. So there's no impermanent loss, but then on the other hand, you know, if the project, like if DXDAO does have a vulnerability, you would lose some of your funds. So that's that. Another thing is that it allows for like KYC-less hacking, which I think could be very lucrative for, I don't know, East Europe and, I don't know, East in general in the world, like hackers that probably don't want to go through like KYC process and traditional bounties. Yeah.
I have a question about a possible insurance fraud. Like, what would prevent someone from introducing a deliberate bug and asking a friend to exploit it to claim the funds?
Yeah, so I mean, this is really, you know, like when you talk about auditors, right? In audit companies, there are like many audit companies, and then you could be working there, and you're a guy, you get, I don't know, paid like in a good case 15K a month, but you're looking at contracts that you could probably exploit for a couple billions, or not billions, but a couple millions, and then there's a misalignment of incentives for the guys, you know, who are working at these security audit firms to actually, okay, let's let this protocol ship and then I'll hack it later. So like this thing always exists where you could hack. Yeah, you can basically like still have a vulnerability and then you know, hack it when it's bigger, when it's, you know, has a lot of TVL. I think here you're not, or at least you're not generally harming the project. Because you would sort of like, you know, disclose it responsibly.
Yeah. And I think audits and how audits are commissioned can like play into that, right? So I'd say like the industry, like what you're striving for is probably 2 external audits, right? So like in the Nathan's example, if a developer were to try to like sneak something in, hopefully that would be caught by the auditors. And that doesn't look great for the developer, right? If there's like a kind of obviously dumb mistake in the audit report. And similarly, if you had multiple auditors and like somebody is kind of like letting something slide on purpose and the other auditor catches it, like that doesn't look great for that auditing firm, right? Like it never looks good when you miss critical vulnerabilities, although of course it can happen. But yeah, I mean, good things to think about.
Yeah, and we also collaborate with QuantStamp. So they have pretty much extensive experience, and we are going to like make a threshold of which project and smart contract can be covered. So like they said that the recent BSC hacks, some of them was reported as QuantStamp. They gave them to audit few contracts, and then they also put some contracts that weren't audited and weren't open source and got exploited. So it seems like it's inside work because nobody knew what was deployed and somehow it got exploited. So we will try to cover those cases of like project should put all their contracts as open source and should have at least one audit report, serious audit report on their contracts. So like that's as far as we can go for the beginning.
Colt is asking in the chat, like, does this create an incentive for hackers that like maybe they wouldn't be trying to look at the, I might generalize that question too to ask like, are there ways in which bug bounties are actually like could be counterproductive, right? Like where they might either cause problems that you didn't have before.
Yeah, so as I said, like our ecosystem is mostly different because anyway, those incentives are there. Like anybody can do the exploit and like take money. We can make it better or not. So everything, like I think it, and if there we will happen to find a way that it becomes worse, then now we will solve it. That's how project with the long-term mission do. So in the wild, we can find like things that we can do better and to stop doing, and that's how I see it.
Yeah, a potential product idea would be for the audit firms to be allowed to stake what they're being paid so that they can get rewards and have it grow with time. And the longer the contract hasn't been exploited, the larger the amount that they could claim in the end. But if it gets exploited during that time, they lose a portion of what they've staked or all of it. That's kind of like skin in the game for audit firms.
Yeah, that could actually be interesting.
Yeah.
And then I think we were also, actually, Shai and I met like the other day, we could also have like the treasury itself generate yield while it's kind of sitting there. And then you have like this whole composability thing happening. And yeah, basically the pool itself gets larger. So yeah.
Yeah. Also, like when you are
And
an
if you
auditor,
decide to do that, we could do it with the conditional token framework.
If the white hat hacker discovers a vulnerability and then puts it through this system, but it's still out there, right? Can they then white hack it before someone else does and still get this reward?
And there will be like certain like behavior that will be like part of the responsible disclosure flow, that if you don't follow it, so you can't get the reward. So the committee will be in charge of telling him what he can do or how can he help, but like he wouldn't get a reward if you won't follow like the collaboration, since he claims the reward. So he can't claim the reward and hack the project as well. This is kind of the terms and conditions of the system itself. So it's really easy, and already like we have those terms and conditions already in other projects. So it's not even something that we have to invent.
I have two questions. One is, so this means everyone can submit anytime a hack, and then we can overflow the system with just fake reports. This is one question, and is somehow connected. If I did see that it takes like 5 or 7 days to respond, and somehow if it's a big hack, then I think you don't want to wait like 5 or 7 days. So is the idea to create like something like a fast lane where the white hackers, stake something behind his claim and then maybe get it back if it's true? Or
Yeah, So actually, it's part of what we do when submit vulnerability. If I show the submit vulnerability flow, so part of it is sending transaction on chain. So it have a cost first of all. So this is like reducing the spam.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
second of all, we can, like, the governance can set a stake for it. So let's say that it can set, like, for critical bugs a submission. So it can be like 1K of value of token of it that you have to submit with the vulnerability. So then you get like higher priority. So this is things that will be like later on. I think we are going to start with just transaction fee as some protection.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? I think this is quite a bit of questions. And yeah, maybe the next kind of step would be like to continue the discussion on the DAO talk, and then not entirely sure like how we would structure this, but yeah, basically Hats will open a DXDAO pool, and DXDAO will have to basically go through the committee setup process with which contracts to cover, and yeah, the severities and the rewards, and yeah, we need to figure out like I don't know the proposal for the DXDAO.
As we are attending the Ethereum conference in Paris, and we will be in our capacity as VCs as well, and there will be startups pitching. I'm wondering whether Hats, at what stage is it at the moment? Would it be attending any conference, giving talks, raising funds? How does that work?
So right now our fundraise is personal, and not something we can discuss publicly. And I think that the only way to allocate tokens to DAOs, as I see it, is through some kind of grant. So we can consider going forward in this way if there will be like a collaboration proposal. I will just say that the issue with raising funds from DAO is KYC. That's the legal issue. But granting tokens for doing work is much easier.
Yeah, so I guess we could continue the discussion on DAO talk. Yeah, and yes, I think both Oren and Shai are on DAO talk, and tag them. And yeah, we can also talk about this in the Keybase, and yeah, we can move this forward. Yeah, I don't know, any other questions, or I mean, we're a bit over time. If there are no other questions, I think we can wrap it up.
I think the RF noob wanted to talk about the buyback, but I think he jumped out.
I can do it in the governance call.
Yeah, better, yeah.
All right.
Cool.
Sky, do you want to stop the recording?